I've got a finance degree and all these letters and licenses and crap after my name, and here I sit broke with a brand new baby, a toddler, and a wife, ready to leave, but she didn't have a car. I mean, it was like it was bad. We were so scared we couldn't breathe.
I feel extremely honored and grateful to introduce our guest today, who is none other than Dave Ramsey, 8-time #1 national best-selling author, personal finance expert, and host of The Ramsey Show.
You're telling me that out of the 1,100 employees you have here at Ramsey Solutions, no one has a credit card?
I bought so much real estate in 2008.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my net worth, but today, because of that 2-year period of time, I was buying stuff 10, 12, 14 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
I've got stuff that's worth $10 million right now that I paid $1 million for.
Why don't you just sell the company now and just live life and travel the world? Dave Ramsey, thank you for coming on the Minority Mindset Show.
Man, I'm so honored. You guys are huge. Way to go, man. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate the support. And honestly, we wouldn't be here without you. Like I was just telling you, Total Money Makeover was the book that I read my freshman year of college, which completely changed the way that I started using my money. And I mean, before that, all my money went into my watch and my car. And so when I read that book, it changed how I use my money, and EntreLeadership also played a big impact on the way I looked at business and entrepreneurship.
Oh, very good.
So,
well, you're still a snazzy dresser.
Well, I appreciate that. But because you have so much financial education content out there and you've helped millions of people get out of debt and become financially free, I want to talk about something a little bit different.
Okay.
I want to talk about Dave Ramsey.
Oh, that's not a good subject.
And your mind and your mindset. So just jumping into you've built this empire with Ramsey Solutions, helping people break out of debt, become financially free. Now you have over 1,000 or 1,100 employees. Mm-hmm. You have multiple products from Financial Peace University, SmartVestor, Every Dollar, EntreLeadership. What were the 3 biggest tools or things that allowed you to build this empire now valued close to $1 billion?
I think we're pretty basic people around here. We're really not very sophisticated, but one thing is it's taken 30 years. So, time would be one of the tools I use. I just don't quit. I'm the tortoise, not the hare. And so you just keep moving. And every time I read that book, the tortoise wins. So, yeah. And I did suffer from the same thing everyone, I guess, maybe everyone, but I think most people suffer from. And I kept waiting for someone to come along with the publishing or the radio or something and say, oh, you're a big deal. We'll discover you and make all this easy. And it never happened. It's still hard. It's still a dogfight. It's a hustle and a grind, a hustle and a grind, a hustle and a grind. So one thing is we just didn't quit and we just stayed with it. And 2 is we stayed very true to our original purpose, which is simply to help people and educate people. And so we've stayed out of the financial products business. We've never sold investments or sold insurance or so. We refer you to people because people need insurance, they need investments. We refer people, but we're never gotten in the and there's a lot of money in that world.
Oh yeah.
A lot. I could have made a lot more money if I was in that world. But we were just teachers. And so we're teachers in a lot of different formats, on a lot of different platforms, but our goal is just to give somebody the inspiration and the information to change their lives, and that's been our great reward.
But what inspired you to be a teacher as opposed to doing something else back 30-some years ago when you were trying to build something?
Yeah. Well, I went broke. I made a lot of money in the real estate business and lost everything, and you know the story, I'm sure. But And so sitting at the bottom of that mess, the first thing was I thought, I've got to learn something different because I've got a finance degree and all these letters and licenses and crap after my name, and here I sit broke with a brand new baby, a toddler, and a wife, ready to leave, but she didn't have a car. I mean, it was like it was bad. We were so scared we couldn't breathe. And so, first thing I thought, I've got to learn something that I didn't know. Apparently my academic upbringing did not suffice. So I've got and so I started talking to old rich people. I didn't want to talk to young rich people. I'd been him, and I didn't want his advice because he did stupid stuff. And so these old rich people brought me this idea of common sense. And I'm a person of faith, so I found in the Bible these same principles. They're just common sense, nothing fancy or woo-woo or anything like that, but it was just that. And so we started applying those things in our own lives, and then somebody says, hey, what's happening? Your life's turning around. And I went, oh, this is what we're doing. And they went, would you show me what you're doing? I said, sure. And then they turned their life around, and then, one at a time. And all of a sudden, here we are. 30 years later.
All of a sudden, overnight success, 30 years later.
Yeah, that's it. You work your tail off for 30 years, you're an overnight success.
But I think one of the parts of that story that's so interesting that I think a lot of people might overlook is you're married, you have a toddler, and you're trying to build a business. Building a business is not easy. That is a full-time, as an around-the-clock job. Raising a family is a full-time. How do you manage that, especially now trying to come out of being broke and managing that kind of crisis? What was that? What was your mindset? In that time where I know I have to become successful, but I also have to be a father and a husband.
Yeah. Well, Sharon and I were very quickly in agreement that we liked food. And so, you gotta go to work. It was desperation. It wasn't motivation. I was freaked out. It was terror. And so was driving it. And I had a to-do list that was based on the idea of prioritized to-do list. What makes money by Friday? Because I need some money to eat. And it really was. It was hand to mouth. And then once you get past that and you get enough of that coming in, there's enough cash flow, and you get away from terror or desperation. Now you move towards, motivation, and I want to grow this. And then we went through a period of probably about 3 years when the kids were little that my wife would tell you she was a single mom.
Oh, wow.
Because I just worked all the time.
When you say all the time, what does that mean?
Well, as you probably know, this all started in a talk radio show that I was doing. And I didn't have my own studios. It was across town. And so it was a 40-minute drive, and I did the show, still do the show, from 1 to 4 Central Time in the afternoon. So I'd come in at 7 in the morning and work up until showtime on the business, and then drive 40 minutes, do the 3-hour show, drive 40 minutes back, and I was teaching Financial Peace University, we call it, in those days, our class, live in person with a bad suit and an overhead projector. And so I had the Holiday Inn rented across the street, and I had to go over there and set up the chairs and set up the screen, snap the things on the screen. Yeah, it was just 4 of us working there.
Wow.
And other people had jobs doing stuff. So I would go back from the radio, grab a quick hamburger, go over, set up everything at the Holiday Inn, come back over, take a shower, put a suit on, then go over and teach for an hour, and then lead small groups for an hour and a half, and end up staying another hour and a half to some young couple was scared to death, or single mom helping them do their budget because their house is being foreclosed on or their car's getting repoed.
Wow.
And so so now it's 11 p.m., and I would go home and rinse and repeat. Do it every day. And I did that for about 2.5 or 3 years, and grew Financial Peace to where we were teaching 300 people every night and twice on Saturday.
Wow. And
with an overhead projector, if you even know what that is. You can look it up. It's an antique thing. But it was very analog, the algorithm, there was no ability. We scaled it as far as we could scale it, and we put it on VHS, and that was the breakthrough. I got my life back because I didn't have to teach every night. We started teaching at churches and other places. They take the VHS tape, and I could be everywhere, and I wasn't anywhere.
Yeah.
And that blew up, and I got back down to a 10-hour day from a 16-hour day.
Wow.
And but it was tough for a while. But my wife grew up on a farm, and she figured out hard work is what nothing happens without hard work. And it was not forever; it was for a period of time.
Sure.
That's not sustainable for 10 years.
Of course.
That's a workaholic if you're doing it for 10 years. It's an entrepreneur if you're doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
We're going to jump back into the show in just a minute, but first, here's an advertisement from our sponsor, me, with Briefs Media. If you're looking for an easy way to stay up to date on what's happening in the top finance and business news, we make it super easy for you to do that at Briefs Media because we created a free newsletter called Market Briefs. Market Briefs is a super simple and easy way for you to stay up to date on the top finance and business news. You can read Market Briefs in less than 5 minutes every morning. It's a fun and witty and easy to read newsletter, and I promise, if you join Market Briefs, you are going to love it. Now you might say, Jaspreet, how can you promise that I'm going to love Market Briefs? Well, if you don't love Market Briefs, you can unsubscribe at any time because it's completely free. So if you have not joined Market Briefs yet and you want to stay up to date on what's happening in the top finance and business news, I got the link to how you can join Market Briefs down in the description below, or you can go to briefs.co/market. That's briefs.co/market. And with that, let's go back to the show.
So on that point now, as you start to generate income, how do you decide then? You're starting to make a little bit of money as an entrepreneur. how do you decide to take that money and put it back into the business versus pull that money out and buy a car, buy a home, buy a vacation, or buy a mutual fund?
Yeah. Well, we funded retirement as soon as we could, standard, pretty much like we teach. I pretty much ran that formula, just maxed out everything I could. And but the allocation, it was a month-to-month play because each month we've got this pile of profit.
Right.
One thing we learned to do early, because I got tired of living on the business on the wire, because if you take it all home, you got every month that business is on the wire.
Right.
So we started funding, taking a percentage of profits every month and dropping it into retained earnings, and have done that for now almost 30 years. And that keeps you funding retained earnings. So that helped with business. Then in addition to that, I need to buy a piece of equipment, or I need to spend some money on something inside the business, and I got to get sharing a car, because the old van we were driving looked like bad news. It was falling apart. And so I got so I got this choice. I can spend $10,000 here, $10,000 there. And really what we ended up figuring out was it's not it's just which is first. So I can do the $10,000 thing at the business, and I can get her a little $10,000 car to haul kids around in. And it might be 2 months one way or the other swing, but we're going to get both of them done next couple of months. So we just figured out mama's first and went and bought the van. And then we do the business. But we've always just dumped money back into the business all along. It's the best investment I've got.
Right.
I've got some great investments, but this one returns well.
Of course. But I think so, what you're saying is your business starts to make money, and as you start to stabilize yourself, now you say, I'm going to pay myself essentially a salary, a commission, or a percentage based off of what percentage that is, kind of roughly?
No, what we did finally after a while was we just put, I just took a straight salary.
So you take a salary.
In the early days, I just put, we were making enough money, I put it on $100,000 a year, and I was just taking $8,000 a month, $8,300 a month home, and put myself on payroll with everybody else, just took the taxes out that way, didn't screw with it. And but then in addition to that is what, if there was $200,000 laying there a year, then what's that other $100,000? Do we increase lifestyle at home, or do we invest back in the business? And the answer is some of both. And
so I think that question is interesting though, because when you're making, let's say $1 million, you make $1 million of profit versus $300 million, kind of like what you're doing now. Because I think, when you look at Instagram, the funny thing to me, as I was kind of understanding business for myself, was you see people talking about, I made $1 million, and they made $1 million, and they say, look at the cars. I got the Rolls Royce, I got the Lamborghini, and I'm flying them charter jets, which means you're taking $1 million out of the business and you're spending all of it on yourself. But what you're saying is, no, you're taking a big or substantial chunk of that $1 million and you're putting it right back into the business. Or I'm investing it at home. I'm not, once I went broke, I'm never again going to consume everything I make. That's just childish. And so if I was that guy. I had a Jaguar. I was the guy that wanted, like you talked about your watch. I had the watch. I had all that crap. But the beauty of going broke is you lose the need to impress anybody. I just really don't. I drive a pickup truck, a really nice one, but I drive it because I like it. It's not because somebody else cares. Rednecks like my pickup, but other than that, it's not impressive. It's not. But I'm not driving the truck for what somebody thinks. I'm driving it because I want it. And you can afford it now, right? Yeah, and it's a matter of I've got more cars than just that, but I'm not motivated by that. It's just, you won't see me splashing stuff on Instagram because it's not a good motivation. It's, there's a shallowness to just collecting things. Oh, yeah. A spiritual, emotional, psychological shallowness to that. There's nothing wrong with things. But the stuff, get you some nice stuff. I got some nice stuff, okay? Yeah. But if you're collecting it to show it off to other people, that's fairly childish, really. Yeah. Was there ever a point where you had to put money out of your personal bank account now back into the business because you wanted to either expand or something was going wrong? One time early, I had a bookkeeper that did not pay the IRS. And I was away on a vacation, a little tiny weekend vacation, and they called me, and the IRS is standing at the front door of the office. Are you serious? They were at the office? I had a heart attack. Oh, my God. Dave Ramsey didn't pay his taxes. I was ready to kill everybody involved.
Unbelievable. It was a long time ago. It was decades ago, but still, it still brings back a memory, you know.
Yeah.
So I had to pull, I don't know, 20 grand or something out of the thing and pay the bill right then from long distance. I had to wire it up, move it around while I was gone, get them away from the front door. And then I had to fire a bookkeeper. But it was, God, I was so stupid. But I've done so many dumb things and survived, man. It's unbelievable. But that's the only time I've actually put personal money. Once I move it home, we're pretty secure because we've got the continuous funding of retained earnings here. So I've always had a cash buffer here. So I think that's probably the reason in general. But this was before I even did that. So this was a while back.
The reason why I asked that question is because, you've grown so big, but you don't take on debt to grow the business.
Right.
I don't believe you have investors in the company.
Not a one. No.
So that means in order to grow this company, you've taken just the profits, reinvested back in, and even you weren't investing your own capital to grow it faster. You were just like, let's take this business and it'll grow it at the speed of the business, at the speed of profits, as opposed to, keep dumping more of your own money in.
It's not venture capital money. It's not outside money. It's obviously not bank money. I mean, it's just organic profits, and we just roll the majority of them back in. And, today, it's kind of ridiculous because a small percentage of our profits gives me and Sharon an unbelievable life.
Right.
And we can just, what are you going to do with the rest of it? I can pull it out, buy real estate with it. I can buy, I can dump it in mutual funds, or I can dump some of it back in here, and I kind of do all three.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you a question I think I know the answer to, but why don't you just sell the company now and just live life and travel the world?
Because I can live life and travel the world without selling it. So, for one thing. The second thing is that what drives us here is not it's not a pure financial transaction. What drives us here is the meaning that me and our family and our team gets from changing people's lives. And so this company's owned by God as far as we're concerned, and it's here to bless other people. And so it's been handed off already. 99% of it's already in the kids' names from an estate planning standpoint. I only own 1% now.
Oh, wow.
But I own the only voting stock. So so there you go. It's just an estate planning trick. I mean, we just moved the value off early, years ago, but while we still could. And then someday I'll hand that 1% over prior to death or at death, either one. But my wife will not. She's taken care of otherwise.
Wow, that's amazing, and I love how open you are about this, because you show people so many different steps of the path. Whether you're in debt, in credit card debt, trying to get out, how do you go from zero to something? How do you go from there to wealth, and now to just extreme levels of wealth of what you're doing with that, which is I think so powerful for a lot of people. Would you say that building this Ramsey empire is replicable in today's economy, in today's environment? Can somebody do this today?
Well, I think do something today. The beauty of the world today versus when I started, there was no internet when I started. There was certainly no dadgum,
YouTube.
Like a magic wand in your hand that you can push buttons and stuff is on your porch. I mean, this is a cool age we live in.
Actually, when I read that Total Money Makeover Entrepreneurship, I had the audio CDs.
Yeah.
I didn't have there's no Audible.
You see what I'm talking about? Yeah.
And they're still in my backseat of my car, my Toyota Solara. They're still there right now.
But I remember distinctly where I was sitting inside the business the first time we dialed up and went, and connected to this thing called the internet.
Yeah.
So, the digital world, the beauty of that is you can test things at such a low cost. You can deliver things at such a low cost and such a high speed. So I think it's easier right now than it's ever been.
Wow.
I mean, I had to print books on like paper and stuff. We just come up with stuff and send it to you, and it's through the air, and it's magical, and you've just got it, and then you give us money, and you get the information and get your life changed. It's amazing. It's so easy. I mean, what it takes to throw up we did a live stream the other night. It was 600,000 people signed up for it.
Wow.
For a live stream. You can't get 600,000 people in a building to do a live event.
Yeah.
You could do arena events the rest of your life and never get. It's so amazing.
Taylor Swift must be watching what you're doing.
Well, everybody's watching Taylor's, but that's a different world. But no, but the thing is, I like analog products, but from a business perspective, and is it possible today? Oh my gosh, digital's amazing, even for an old boomer like me.
Is there a place where you feel like, man, if I would have been starting today, I would have done this more. I would have invested deeper into this, or I wouldn't have done something else?
One of the beauties of the journey that I've been on is that we've had so much failure. I'm convinced that 90% of my ideas suck, and we make all of our money and all of our brand notoriety and everything else on about 10%.
Wow,
and we survive the other 90%. And so the beauty of digital is, again, you can beta stuff, you can test stuff, you can run split tests. When you got 2 million people coming to a website, you can do, a month, you can do, or a week or whatever it is, you can do all kinds of, experimentation and not lose so dadgum much time and money and frustration. Because we would just Hail Mary stuff, just throw it, hope somebody catches the dadgum ball. And we're just throwing it. And we're like, hope it hits, but now everything's so dialed in. I mean, these tech guys on our team are brilliant people. Yeah. It's amazing. So I think it's, I do think it's easier today. What would we do different? I would do fewer Hail Marys because I wouldn't be required to.
Focus in.
They hurt when they don't work. I've done stuff where we try something, we lose $5 million. Or we try something, we lose $3 million. But, you're just trying something. We tried to access the Spanish community, the Hispanic community. I've just got this huge love for the Hispanic community, the Latinos. And, but hillbilly communicating to Latinos is a hoot,
Really?
So we got a guy in, it was a Hispanic guy, that was bilingual, made him the Ramsey personality to do this, Andres Gutierrez. He's a great friend. And we spent, I lost several $1 million in printed Spanish materials. We had a Spanish broadcast. We had all this stuff. We could not monetize that market. We could not connect. We couldn't do it. And Andres got frustrated and said, I think I'm going to go try this anyway. And I'm like, you know what? Here's $100,000. I hope you go win. And I'll help you. I'll send you all of our Spanish materials, all our leads. You can have it all. We tried it. And he's still out there doing it. He's got a radio show that's on 37 stations right now. He's a great guy. He's a good friend to this day. But we lost, I lost at least $2 million trying to different ways to access that market. But we did stupid stuff. We overdubbed me with Spanish.
Yeah.
Really? That's hilarious. A pastor comes to me and he goes, Dave, let's just pretend you had the best possible leadership training in the world, and it was a Chinese guy overdubbed with hillbilly lingo. Would you watch that? And I went, no, that'd be awful. And he goes, that's what you put out. You put crap out, and then you expect people to do it. So we've screwed up so many things. That's just, I could write in books on all the dumb things we've done. But we were just trying something. And in today's world, you could do that with so much less effort and so much increased speed, and you would discover quickly or not whether you could get a product market fit. And in those days, we were just throwing it against the wall, see if something stick.
But I think what's interesting about that is the almost the craziness aspect to want to try things. Because, I think with a lot of entrepreneurs or people trying to start things, even with investing, it's the fear of failure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to put my money into the stock market because what if the market crashes? What if the economy crashes? What if my business idea sucks? What if I lose money? How did you overcome that? Because, even when you're making a lot of money, losing a couple $1 million can't be easy.
No, it still hurts. That's why I bring it up. I want to cry when I think about it. But no, number one, if you're not borrowing the money to do it, you're paying. It's cash that I lost. I don't miss it as much. If I had to pay payments, if I was still paying payments on that mistake 5 years later, that'd be double hurtful, right?
Yeah.
So if it's real money and it's really gone, and we go, okay, this is it. We're not doing this. We're killing this product. We've lost hope. Boom, we're killing it. Okay, then that's gone. It's just gone. It's over. It's in the distant past quickly, and you can move on. So and it's not enough money. We don't do any. I call them James Bond deals. In every James Bond movie, somewhere near the end of the movie, he's playing cards, and he has to slide all the chips to the center of the table to defeat the evil guy, or the world's going to be brought to an end because of this one card game, right? So, but it's all in, and we've never done an all in deal.
Oh, okay.
Ever. I've never signed a contract, never gotten into something that if this doesn't work, we're gone. It's like if we lost $2 million on that, it meant we had 10.
Yeah,
it meant so it hurt, like $2 million worth of hurt, but it was not fatal.
I get
And so
that.
we don't do James Bond. We're not all in. We're going to bet the farm. We're going to bet the family heritage on this one stupid deal with Walmart.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
We're going to jump back into the show in just a minute, but before we do, here are a few words from our sponsor, Policygenius. Term life insurance is a financial tool that you can use to protect your family in case of a tragedy, because if you are the breadwinner of a family and if something were to tragically happen to you and you lost your life, well, that's when term life insurance would kick in and give your family a check. That way, at least your family would be okay financially. Now, if you are looking for term life insurance, Policygenius can help you because they are an insurance marketplace, so they can help you save money and find the best option for you. See, Policygenius is an insurance marketplace. They're not an insurance carrier. So the way it works is you go onto the website and enter in a few pieces of information, which just takes a few minutes, and then they will present you with different term life insurance quotes from different insurance carriers. That way you can pick the best option for you. The Policygenius service is completely free to use, and if you have questions, you can talk to a Policygenius insurance expert and get unbiased advice to find the best option for you. The Policygenius service is completely free, and if you have specific questions, you can talk to a Policygenius insurance expert and get unbiased advice. So if you want to learn more and get a free term life insurance quote, I got the link to where you can do that with our sponsor Policygenius down in the description below. Minority Mindset is a paid partner with Policygenius, meaning if you use them, we will get compensated, but there's no additional cost to you. So if you want to learn more and get a free term life insurance quote with Policygenius, I got the link to how you can do that down in the description below. And with that, let's go back to the show.
One of the things I think you've done very well from a short time being here is build an amazing company culture. Because last time I was here, I was with Humphrey Yang, and we were walking around with some of the team, and he was asking some really funny questions, which I thought were funny, which was, what credit cards do you guys have? And the response they had was, we don't believe in credit cards here. And he responded with, you're telling me that out of the 1,100 employees you have here at Ramsey Solutions, no one has a credit card? And they responded very firmly saying, we don't believe in credit cards at Ramsey Solutions. And I'm sitting here listening to this as just a viewer saying, wow, like that is... to obviously you live by what you teach.
Well, we don't believe in them, but we also don't check their wallets. So I can't authoritatively say not a single person here does. But we try not to hire people who are hypocrites.
But exactly, but you're having a team culture of, we believe.
We have a whole program called Walk the Talk. If we're going to say we're this, we ought to be this. Because otherwise you're just a liar, you know? And so you ought to be who you is.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, it's okay. But this is who we are. And you know, when you go lease a car and you work here, the car dealer's going to tell everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know, that guy over at Ramsey did this, and they don't really believe what they teach, and so the whole thing's a fraud. It's snake oil. I knew it. And you know, and we've had people do stuff like that over the years. So we don't police. We just try to teach the adults, not the children. We don't have children. The adults that are here, that it's inconsistent. And so it makes you look hypocritical. It makes us look bad. It diminishes our ability to influence someone because we're no longer trustworthy because we're hypocritical. And so, you know, if you want to go do all that stuff, you probably don't want to work here because you really don't believe in what we do.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of encouragement. But we've never done a wallet check to make sure that everybody doesn't have a credit card. We're not that controlling.
My team was walking in asking, do we have to check in our credit cards on the way to the studio?
No. I got lots of friends that do all kinds of stuff. It's okay.
How do you teach that company culture, and how important has that been for your success here at Ramsey Solutions? Just even without necessarily the credit cards, just whatever the culture is here at the company for your brand.
You know, it starts with hiring. You need to be very clear with someone who's considering joining the team that this is who we are. Do you want to be a we? Because when you're signing up, this is what you're going to do. If you sign up for the Navy, you better expect to wear some blue.
Yeah.
You know, if you sign up for the Army, you better expect to wear some green. If you sign up for this is what we're due.
Right.
And so I don't want you to come here and be disillusioned. You should know on the front end. And so a lot of people self-select out in the interview process before they come. Because they go, oh, you people are nuts over there. And, you know, that's fine. That's cool. But we're our own little brand of nuts. So you need to know that, and you're joining a we. We're French. We. Do you want to be a we? We do it this way. We don't do, for instance, gossip inside the organization. That's a core value. If you're going to talk bad about somebody, you need to talk to them or to leadership. But if you talk to someone else about it, we'll fire you. Because we're not going to have a bunch of people sitting around talking. And we onboarded 8 people this morning or yesterday, and they're in the onboarding stuff. So I had breakfast with my son, the president, this morning. Then I went up, sat in the onboarding for a few minutes and answered questions for the new people coming in. It's fun to hang out with them. And I told them, I said, one lady said, so how is it that you do this? She was kind of asking the same thing. I said, well, one thing is drama inside a business, you can't get stuff done. Everybody's saying, yeah, everybody's talking about everybody. There's all this other stuff going on instead of actually doing your freaking work. It's debilitating to a business. It's impractical. And so every time crazy got in our building, and crazy will screw up stuff. So every time crazy got in our building, we figured out what door they use. We put a lock on that door. And so it's like, how did you get through the interview process? Because you are nuts, And how did you get through the interview process? Because you perpendicular to belief system to everything we have in this building. You completely shouldn't be here. How did we get you in here? How dumb are we that we let you in here? And so we look at that. We do an autopsy when something goes wrong on the patient, and we say, all right, and we add that step to the interview process and say, okay, we did not talk about that, so they thought it was okay, and it's not okay. And so now we talk about it in the interview process. So our interview process is brutal.
Really?
It's like getting on with the freaking FBI or something, man. So, and that way it keeps crazy out of the building. I'd rather find out that they're crazy or drama or they're not aligned or whatever phrase you want to use before they're on the payroll.
So how do you determine if someone's crazy beforehand or going to
spend a lot of time with them?
Oh.
It'll come out. And, we laughingly say, one old guy said, you can't win the Kentucky Derby with a donkey. You need a thoroughbred. And so what we're looking for is thoroughbreds. And if you spend enough, because people dress up like a thoroughbred for the interview, and they come in acting all thoroughbred. But if you spend enough time with them, they'll eventually go, yeah, and you go, oh, I heard that. And you just, it'll slip out if you listen and spend time with different leaders. And, so we're not abusive, but we also want it's best for the person.
Right.
The person doesn't want to be here if they're not gonna. You don't want to come into a place and fail.
Of course,
that's horrible. So it's not a gift to them to let them get by with it. Because some people just want a job. No, that's not. We don't need JOBs done. We're on crusade. So anyway, we spend a lot of time on the hire. We reinforce with each other all the time. Staff meeting, we'll talk about the things, who we are, what we do. This is who we are. 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 I remind them every Monday morning that this place is inordinately blessed. We have been unbelievably touched and prospered. And we weren't blessed just to be hedonists, just to receive. We're blessed so that we can be a blessing. This place exists for the people that are not here. Oh. And so your job is to serve. Your job is to find someone that's hurting and scared like I was and go help them. That's your job. If you're writing a line of code, if you're doing a piece of creative, if you're in shipping and you ship a total money makeover book, you're just not a book shipper. You're sending out hope, dude. And if you can't get all into that, you need to go somewhere else, because this is what we do here. And it's like a pep rally all the time to remind people, because you forget that this is important.
So when somebody joins the team, then how long is the onboarding to learn the values? Because maybe they don't know necessarily the baby steps fully when they join, or are they required to know before?
No. We have a 5-day onboarding, and that's mainly about stuff inside the company and operational, and so you know what goes where, where the bathroom is and all that. And we put people through Financial Peace University in the first 90 days they're here. That's mandatory. And that's just like an indoctrination, if you will, or a training program. This is so the products.
Right.
Because a lot of them are encompassed in those 9 lessons. And kind of the financial principles, if you will. And in the old days, when we would do a live event, at some point in your first year, you had to go help us at a live event, set up chairs, do stuff, because you see the people then. And you get to have contact with humans that are
showing the mission and impact.
Yeah, and showing the impact. And it's really exciting. We don't get to do that anymore because we've grown too much, and you can't just take people all the time to these live events. But it was a cool way to inform people of what was going on. And then it's just osmosis after that. You're just in the midst of a positive peer pressure environment, and people they'll line up, or they'll quickly say, I made a mistake.
Wow. One of the things I would love to learn about from you is how do you handle critics and haters? Because as you've grown, you've built this.
Oh, I got a lot of them, don't I?
You built a massive brand, and
it's awesome.
people will hate you for any which thing, which is insane. And you're doing this. You don't have to be doing this, yet you're doing this every day because clearly this is something that you love to do. How do you handle that? Or somebody saying you're charging people money to help them with money, like you're trying to help somebody be better with money, but you're taking money from them. How do you combat that from yourself and the team?
In the early days, it really hurt my feelings. I stayed tore up all the time. Now the scale is so outrageous. We just figured out that it goes with the territory after a while. We talked about digital and ease of things, but one of the things that scaled is trolls. In the old days, you had to really work at delivering me hate mail, like snail mail, or you had to come by the office and knock on the window and flip a bird or whatever. But nowadays you just go on any comment thing and just, create your own Reddit thread that Dave Ramsey's a moron or whatever. And I don't look at any of it. I can't. I actually, it hurts my feelings too much to look at it.
Really?
Yeah. So I can absorb some of it because I'm pretty tough and I've been doing it a long time. But if you just sit and read that trash all day long about yourself, eventually you go, who would want to be that guy? So I don't want to be. I can't. You can only absorb so much of it, and I don't have to. I don't need to look at it. It serves no purpose.
Right.
It really does, because I'm not going to stop. And they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Right.
I just don't spend any time on it. And so my daughter Rachel is one of the personalities, and she spends a lot of time interacting with people on social, and George Kamel does too. And they'll come in and tell me sometimes, there's a lot of people saying this. We ought to talk about this. And I'm like, do you really want to? Is that who you want to be? Setting the tone for our content. It's like, we're really not doing it for them. We're doing it for the people that want help. And if you just want to throw stones, or I'm really good for clickbait too. So trashing Dave Ramsey makes a good YouTube video.
Well, if they put your face on the thumbnail, they know they're going to get clicks.
Oh yeah, they're going to get some looks. Yeah, I'm really. That's the other thing. Some of these people are just straight up opportunists. They really don't hate me. It's just I'm really good for business.
It's digital paparazzi.
Exactly.
Right? They want your face on something.
It's okay. The only way to avoid criticism, Aristotle said, is do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. These are not options.
Wow. How do you manage then, building and growing your personal brand versus building and growing the business? Because now Ramsey Solutions is way more than Dave Ramsey. Maybe in the early stages, how did you manage that then?
We didn't. It was Dave Ramsey. As a matter of fact, we changed the title of the talk radio show. It was originally called The Money Game. We changed it to The Dave Ramsey Show. The original website was financialpeaceuniversity.com. We changed it to daveramsey.com. We focused everything in on Dave Ramsey as the brand in the early days to grow the brand. And then about 15 years ago or so, or a little bit more, maybe 16 years ago, we started talking about, okay, that was good for that season, but when Dave dies, that's not going to be good. And Dave's going to die someday. And so this is not a sustainable thing. It's a flash in the pan. And so we've got to think about how we do succession planning. And part of that is a brand shift. It's very difficult because I studied family business succession. I've studied handoffs and leadership and all these things. There's great case studies out there on positive, well done. Nobody's got information on a brand, a singular brand like that, transfer. Paul Harvey Jr. very seldom makes it. He was a Paul Harvey, big radio guy. Paul Harvey Jr. tried, didn't work. The guys following Rush, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to come in behind the guy, Yeah. And so what we started figuring out some principles for that brand transfer. The first principle we discovered was we couldn't find anyone that was successful doing it a one-to-one handoff. So, like, for instance, my daughter would have been obvious. She was one of the first Ramsey personalities.
Right.
I could have handed the whole brand and made RachelCruz.com.
Right.
Not fair to her because it takes her life then.
Yeah.
She has to do that or the whole thing fails. B, it's from an investment perspective, you're not diversified. You're buying a single stock versus a mutual fund. So that's where we came up with Mini, Ramsey Personality's idea. That's been hard. A lot of trial and error there. We got a really good stable right this second. Real thankful for where we are today. So that brand transfer, and then we began to shift. And in 2020, we shifted which was a real good timing. I think it might have been 19 even. We shifted from DaveRamsey.com to RamseySolutions.com, which was a big hairy deal because SEO and freaking Google. It was harsh. Yeah, we took a nosedive. We planned to. We knew we were going to for about 60 days, and it took almost a year to recover from that move to get back to where we were. It wasn't fatal, but it was.
I mean, that's tough because now you're changing Google rankings, your email,
every little nuance in the Google algorithm, and we're trying to just make this move in the middle of it, not manipulate Google, but. It was awful. So we're back though. It's back, and it's a lot larger now than DaveRamsey.com ever was.
Wow.
So it took a little while. It's been 3 years total from the day we did it, or so, maybe a little bit more. And then I can't remember. It was February. It was either 20 or 21. We just decided the show was now called The Ramsey Show.
Wow.
We didn't announce it. We didn't say a thing. We just started calling it that, and changed all of our graphics, all our internal stuff. And I've got 680 radio stations. One of them called and said, "What'd y'all do?" No one even noticed. People on YouTube noticed that we did it. A few commenters, because they catch everything. But like, what's he doing? What's he doing? Is he going to leave? Change the name. It's like, no, it's because the Ramsey Show can survive. And we started having a co-host every day. So that we always have two of us here now. And I've been gone for 6 weeks, and two of them have been doing it. And we had the highest YouTube downloads and the highest ratings
Are you serious?
on the podcast that we've ever had without me here.
Wow.
It's a little bit distressing. My plan is working to make me less important, and it's kind of distressing.
Well, but about the personalities, I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. What was the toughest part of trying to diversify Dave Ramsey to now the Ramsey personalities?
Well, it's the individual people. It requires that you have a big enough ego to have something to say, to have an opinion, and to stand firmly on that. And simultaneously, when you walk away from the microphone, have humility. And that's an interesting yin and yang, an interesting dichotomy. So, because a lot of people on the microphone, they're a big deal, and then when they walk in the green room, they're still a big deal. And, I need blue M&Ms in here and all this stuff, and we don't do that here. No, that's not an option, no, because nobody invites you back. You can't be back on that show. They don't want to deal with you again because behind the scenes you were a jerk. And it's just not the character quality of somebody. So we had to have, a thought leader has to have a thought. They have to have an ego to say it, and then they have to be able to turn off the microphone and realize they're just a mouthpiece for something much bigger than them. And so you'll hear a George Kamel or a Ken Coleman often say, "I had a #1 best-selling book, but I've got an incredible team." And that's very true. They have an incredible team. And that book might not have been #1 if it wasn't for the team, but it also wouldn't have been #1 without that person, like a George Kamel doing that writing, or a Ken Coleman, or a Rachel Cruz, whatever, John Loney, whoever. So we're looking for people to do that, and you got to be fun and funny. You got to be a great storyteller.
Yeah.
You got to be able to grab people around the heart, because that's where things are transformed. They're not transformed in the brain. Life is changed in the heart.
Yeah.
And so that's a different thing that we do here. And so we got to do all that. You got to be thinking long term. If you want success by Friday, it's not how we've done it here. We've been very slow and steady, and predictably successful. So that, it's going to take a little while. You're not going to be instant. We don't have any instant mashed potatoes here. They don't taste good.
I love the analogies. Do the personalities then come organically through the company, or do you go out looking for them? Or
we've done both. We brought in both, and we've had success with both, and we've had failure with both. George was an intern, and he grew up internally. He's a test tube baby here, and obviously Rachel was my daughter, so that was about as organic as you can get. Deloney we brought in from the outside. Coleman we brought in as a host knowing that he probably could make a move. Like he would be a master of ceremonies at a live event, or when we had YouTube in the old days, we had big commercial breaks.
Yeah.
We had it formatted poorly. And he would, during the commercial breaks, he would do stuff in the lobby with people.
Really?
Yeah, before George did. George did it later. But Ken was doing that first, and then we started gravitating Ken towards this career and personal development brand that is his brand, and he's done very well with it. So each of those but Deloney, we saw him speak. He was a dean of students, and I sat down and started talking to him, and he's just so freaking smart and wired up, and he can just pull a file and make it come out of his mouth from, he's 2 PhDs, and so I could go, dude, you could answer calls. Because everything we do is off the cuff.
Right.
So you got to be able to draw and fire and reholster really fast.
So you really have no idea what someone's going to be talking to you about when they call in.
2 lines on one of these screens that says car getting repoed, or my mother's mad at me, or it says, but we don't have anything. No, there's no background research. They just call and we put them on and we try to figure it out. Sometimes we screw it up, but you got to be quick. You got to be quick on your feet.
Well, what would you say is the craziest call you've ever gotten?
Oh God, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them. The fun ones were we would get guys. We used to do a thing, and we need to do it again because it was funny as crud. When you do something stupid with money and you lose the money, we call it stupid tax. And so we did a stupid tax theme hour. So if you did something stupid with money and you lost your money and you want to give us all a laugh, so we don't feel as dumb about ourselves, call in and tell your stupid story. And there's some really wild ones. Yeah. Lady, bought 3 horses on a credit card and they died on the way home, and it's just wild stuff. And, all these crazy stuff people do. A guy bought a monkey. Really? And for $2,500 and put it on a credit card, and the monkey would take its diaper off and throw its stuff at his fiance because it was mad at his fiance. And so he had to decide to get rid of the fiance or get rid of the monkey.
Which one did he pick?
He got rid of the monkey, but he kept the credit card bill. So he had to pay $2,500 for a monkey he didn't have anymore. That's great. A spotted-nosed guinean. That's what he called it. That's what the type of monkey. Who knew that was happening? It's weird. You just don't get that anywhere else.
One parts of that, though, of building the team and the brand, going back up a little bit, is you had to have this culture and everyone kind of understanding what the team and values are.
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed here is all of your team comes into the office, and you talk about all these major changes you had in 2020. Why don't you do virtual or hybrid, or what is the reasoning behind having the team in the office, especially nowadays as we have this completely new shift in the economy?
Well, before we had this building, we had outgrown the building that we were in. It was 55,000 feet, and we had about, I guess we had 700, 800 people, and I think in that one building was about half of them. And so I rented the office warehouse out behind. Then we filled it up, and then we rented a office condo across the street. We filled it up, and then we put 300 people a mile away.
Oh wow!
The equivalent of remote, and
but they're still working together.
Well, they're a mile away, and so we figured out that not spending time together in person lowers productivity and creativity and synergy. You don't have any drive-by ideas on remote.
Yeah.
If I'm walking past somebody's desk and I look down and I think of them and I think about what they're working on, I go, hey, have you, here's the, and 13 seconds later, I walk away and keep moving. And it's not just me. There's 1,100 of us doing the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a productivity to that Zoom will never replicate. Being in physical presence with someone changes the quality of the relationship. And organizations, whether we like it or not, move at the speed of trust. And when you're not in high quality relationship, your level of trust has to go down by definition. And when you're not in proximity physically, ever so often, you're not connecting, you're not feeling the air, because there's so much of communication that is nonverbal, the vast majority of it. So we're firmly convinced the best way to run a company for all of those reasons: productivity, trust, creativity, synergy, drive-by ideas, laughter, all of those things. You'll hear people do. You can't have a good Nerf gun fight.
virtually?
You can't shoot somebody with an earth gun on Zoom, but you can shoot them in here. I get shot at all the time in
Really?
here. Oh, yeah, they kill me, man. I got to walk around with a dadgum gun around here. It's a Nerf gun if I don't want to defend myself. You can't do that in Zoom. And you can't have that much fun. I ride around on a hoverboard sometimes.
Yeah.
You can't do that on Zoom.
So
That's why we're all here.
I love that. But how do you now encourage, I guess, that creativity while also letting people do their work? How did you manage that? Because, if I have, let's just say 8 hours worth of work, and then someone's coming up to me talking about ideas or
you can't interrupt everybody while they're working. You're right. But it's not constant. But the proximity thing, if we gather up 3 people right quick in an impromptu meeting and attack an issue that just popped up, it has a different result and a different feel than if you gather up on Zoom and do that. And so, we've had some folks that decide they wanted to work from home and left. And so we've lost some good people. But I think we're convinced that the net of the whole thing is we'll come out ahead.
That's very interesting. I guess the last part that I want to talk about with you has to do with where you think the economy is going. And I know you were very big on the housing market, talking about that a year or 2 years ago. So I guess where we are now today in the economy, and I know you have a workshop coming up on investing as well. Do you think that somebody, an investor, an entrepreneur today, is going to be able to continue seeing the growth of the stock market like we have in the last 10 years or last 50 years? Or are we heading into a down period where we're going to see lower growth, higher interest rates, and will an investor still see that opportunity?
Truthfully, I can just about guarantee that it's going to go up and go down. I mean, that's pretty much historical, right? And I am sure that economists and weather forecasters are the only people that can be wrong most of the time and still keep their jobs. So I don't know if I really want to enter this fray, but I don't know in the near term. I don't have absolute assurance. I am firmly convinced that 10 years from now, if I bought a piece of real estate today, I'll be happy. I'm firmly convinced that 10 years from now, if I invest in a good growth stock mutual fund, I'll be happy. I will have gotten good returns. And I can do that based on virtually any 10-year block of time in the last 75 years or 80 years. So most 5-year periods of time will show you positives. But in the near term, I don't know what it's going to do for sure. I can look at, like anyone else can, we've still got a huge inventory shortage on housing.
Oh, yeah.
Versus demand. It's really, truly a seller's market. Even though we've got the downward pressure from the high interest rates, the upward pressure from the supply curve, is saying that they're going to go up.
There's nothing for sale.
It's going to go up. And even if the rate of sale has gone down, the values have held. And in most markets, there's been some exceptions, market by market. Real estate is a local market issue. But overall, in the American economy, in the last even 36 months, well, if you take out the pandemic, get past the pandemic, because that's an anomaly, but in so many ways. But if you say, okay, from 22 to 24, what's really happened? Well, it's increased, even in a rising interest rate environment, which you would have thought would have completely chilled the market. But it has chilled the volume. The volume of listings, the volume of transactions is down. But the values have held. So that from an investor perspective, if you roll up your sleeves and pile up a big old pile of cash and you watch for the market to go down, it's an opportunity. I bought so much real estate in 2008. Oh my gosh, my net worth today because of that 2-year period of time, I was buying stuff 10, 12, 14 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
I've got stuff that's worth $10 million right now that I paid $1 million for.
Are you serious?
It's nuts. I mean, I kind of hope we get another one of those runs, but I hate it for the folk that are involved. But it would, as far as an investor goes, woo, it's a wonderful time. So I don't think we're going to see another 2008. I don't think it's going to get that bad. But I didn't think 2008 was going to get that bad. I was shocked that it got that bad. I actually was completely wrong on that and got hammered for being wrong, but I was wrong. And so, but I'm a glass half full most of the time because that's been my whole life.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm very sure there's nothing in the marketplace that indicates that the American economy is going to come to an end. You know, it's just because somebody's going to always invent something else.
Oh, yeah.
As long as there are garages, you know, there's somebody's in the garage building something right now. It's going to be the next thing, or being in their spare bedroom, you know, typing out some line of code, that inventing the next thing that we're going to be all doing.
Some of the biggest and best businesses were created during recessions.
Exactly.
On the flip side, have you heard of doom spending?
No.
Doom spending is a new concept, which is people are worried.
The world's going to come to an end, so I'm going to spend it all.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so bad.
This is
sad.
It is happening, and I've been reading a few articles on this where people are like, well, the market's going to crash, economy's going to crash, so might as well go deep into credit card debt, buy the things now. And it's crazy to me because, well, the economy's
like a cult. So let's all go drink Kool-Aid and die. Oh my gosh.
When the economy's strong, well, what's going to happen then if it does go down and you lose your job? And now you have all this, these payments and all these liabilities.
It's like saying I got 3 years to live, so I might as well just go, you know. Oh, that's so sad.
Well, but the thing is, 3 years to live, you have 3 years. These are 25-year-old people.
I know, but I'm just, that's so sad. And the actual horrible critical thinking skills that it represents to get to that belief is unbelievable. Because there's just nothing out here that indicates that. I mean, things are hard. Well, it's always been hard. You know, there's never been an easy.
I think
I miss the easy button thing.
Just understanding a little bit of economic history would be valuable.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I appreciate your time. There was 2 last questions that people wanted me to ask. Which are, number 1, what is your favorite car?
My favorite car. Right now, my daily driver that I don't drive everything, but the one I drive today is I drive a Raptor, a pickup.
We're on the same wavelength then.
Yeah, I got the new R, the 700 horsepower.
Oh, there you go.
It's a beast, man.
Yeah, it's pretty loud
too.
Huh?
It's a serious, like super redneck.
It's a Detroit
truck.
car, you know that, right?
Yeah, it's a super redneck truck. Yeah, for sure. I love it. It's a blast. It's fun to drive. It's really fast. But so that's my daily driver today.
And your favorite fast food?
Fast food? I don't eat. I'm not against fast food. I just don't end up eating it much. I'm kind of a fine dining guy now, like chef's tasting menu. Okay. It's like my favorite sport.
Is it really?
Yeah,
they take like 4 hours sometimes.
And it's not because I'm a snot. It's just I've just really, these guys, these super chefs.
They're amazing.
That's like so cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of got me off fast food. Yeah.
Well, even better. Well, Dave, I appreciate your time. This was amazing. I learned so much.
Well, I'm honored to have you in here, man. I get to hang out. You're a big deal, man.
Well,
That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate everything that you've done, not just for everyone else, but also just for me on a personal level. There are so many cool things that you're doing. I know you have your investor workshop. That is May
21, 22.
We'll make sure we put that on the screen. May 21, 22 for your.
Yeah, it's a virtual.
Virtual.
So you can join us 2 hours each night, and I'm actually going to open my personal playbook.
Really?
And go into what I'm doing with real estate, how I buy real estate, how I do mutual funds. There's nothing really, you're not going to go, "Whoa," but it's just, I never really open that stuff up. I just kind of teach the basic principles usually.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be fun because there's so much stuff out there on real estate right now that's bad.
That's amazing. Well, how can we get tickets to that?
Just RamseySolutions.com. Hit the events button and you'll be able to get them.
Perfect. And anything else you'd like us to know, where we can find more, learn more about what you're doing?
It's all right there.
Ramsey Solutions. Well, thank you, Dave Ramsey. I really appreciate everything.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
What would you say are some of the worst financial mistakes that Americans are making today that is keeping them broke? And I think I know the first one you're going to say.
Oh, man.
But
well, truthfully, number 1 right now in my mind as we take calls is car loans.
car loans.
Car loans are killing Americans. And it's the number 1 video I did on YouTube.